recommerce beyond apparel, circular sportswear retail offerings, regenerative travel, sustainable grocery packaging, and the role of pubs and pubgoers in sustainable spirits. What do all 5 of these have in common? Well, they're all part of the next Sustainable Life 5 in 5. My take on 5 highlights in sustainable living from the past week, all in under 5 minutes. Welcome to the next edition of Sustainable Life 5 in 5 here on my Sustainable Living channel. I'm Douglas Sabo, or at Green Living Doug, across all the socials, as the kids say these days. This is my 4th episode. My 4th episode of this weekly series to highlight what do I see as some of the highlights of the week across the world of sustainable living and sustainable lifestyles. These are all curated from my Sustainable Life blog that you can find at greenlivingdoug.com. Well, as you can see, this week I'm back indoors, no longer in the Chevy Bolt, where I was last week's edition. And why is that? Well, I think for the dog owners out there, when you have a dog and you go see another dog, your dog, when you come home, often knows that you've seen another dog. And that's my experience this past week in electric vehicles. I had the chance to be at Climate Week in New York City, which I'll talk about a little bit in a moment. And as part of it, I got to go to an event at Rivian and check out the amazing new lineup that Rivian has in electric vehicles. The pickup truck, the SUV, really inspiring, beautiful design. I actually did an Instagram reel about it, so if you're interested in checking out 25 seconds live from the Rivian location in New York City, give that a try over on Instagram. I'm also at Green Living Doug there as well. So not only am I back indoors, but as I mentioned, I'm back from Climate Week and a lot of focus on sustainable living at Climate Week. So I do invite you to go check out the Solutions House website, solutionshouse.net. They will be posting videos from a number of the sessions that took place. I got to speak on a panel, which again will come up later in the highlights, sneak preview and spoiler alert. I got to speak on a panel on decarbonizing lifestyles. And so there's some great content that you'll see posted there. So if you're interested in this topic area, check out solutionshouse.net. Also, if you like this comment, here comes the usual. You can like and subscribe in order to stay in touch. And you also, please, in the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts about what you saw as some of the highlights of this past week in sustainable living. I also caveat, yes, a number of announcements did get made this past week during Climate Week and coinciding with all the activities. You may not hear them reflected in this week's recap because they just came out within the last few days, so stay tuned for more. Okay, so with that, the Sustainable Life blog this past week did cover a number of topics. We covered retail and recommerce specifically. We covered sustainable apparel and fashion, travel and tourism, food with a deep dive on the grocery sector, and the topic of beverage, and once again, within beverage, spirits, liquor, alcohol, beer, and wine. And so those are the 5 themes that we pulled these 5 highlights from. And so, per usual, let's go ahead and get started. Again, 5 highlights in 5 minutes. Let's see, last week I nailed it, I think, to the second. Let's see how we do this week. Okay. Highlight number 1, recommerce beyond apparel. One of the highlights this past week was an article looking at pre-loved items, secondhand items, beyond just the sector of apparel. This article focused on secondhand goods in baby gear, including offerings from the retail location of Mamas and Papas, which I actually highlighted the baby gear topic in a previous 5 in 5. Electronics and refurbished technologies, eBay and others offering that. Homeware, IKEA actually had an event at one of its locations for people to resell their homeware. And sports equipment, specifically highlighting Decathlon and their Second Life range of bikes, fitness equipment, kayaks, tents, and more. And so why did I pick this highlight? Well, I think there's such tremendous opportunity in the re-commerce space, secondhand, rental, refill, etc., that it shouldn't just be about one sector, retail and apparel. We do have a recent study that 1 in 10 consumers, I think this was UK specifically, already have purchased secondhand in electronics, furniture, and these other non-apparel categories. That means 9 in 10 have not. So let's continue to watch for developments in how we get there. Okay, highlight number 2, circular sportswear. This article this week that I pulled from was highlighting new offerings from Houdini Sportswear. And what's funny about this, I highlighted this on Tuesday afternoon, I was actually on a panel with the CEO of Houdini Sportswear. So universe works in very funny ways sometimes. And what Houdini Sportswear is announcing was an expansion of their circularity platform already, including their Houdini Circle retail concept, the first of its kind, a physical location where it's bringing together and enabling consumers to be able to rent apparel, subscribe to garments, purchase new secondhand or remade pieces, or trade in garments for new Houdini pieces, all at one venue. So when we talk about consumption and sustainable living and recommerce and sustainable apparel, we really have to talk about how do you make it accessible? How do you meet people where they are, figuratively, or in this case, literally, in a physical place? So really found that exciting, as well as the CEO, Eva Carlson's remarks about sustainable consumption and more mindful consumption. Okay, highlight number 3, regenerative travel. This was a spotlight on this theme and topic within sustainable travel and tourism on regenerative travel. You know, we're often talking about sustainable travel as how do we minimize our footprint and make it as light impact as possible and maximize economic contributions to communities. In this case, this was a spotlight on regenerative travel, which is how can we leave travel and how do we leave locations better than where we found them when we as travelers arrived. It's really a mindset shift from how does travel benefit the traveler to how does traveler benefit the destination. And this could be things like experiences in tree planting on your travel, there are coral regeneration projects that were highlighted, wildlife regenerative experiences such as feral animal tracking. There was another experience about clearing invasive species, and if you do so, you got a free kayak rental. So lots of ways to engage travelers in giving back to the communities and leaving those destinations better than when they found them. So stay tuned for more on regenerative travel. Okay, highlight 4, sustainable packaging in grocery. Here, a whole suite of headlines. One on the private label boom in grocery and how that also must make sure it's addressing sustainable packaging. Sainsbury's in the UK announced sweeping packaging changes covering 400 stores. There's a highlight of a new zero waste grocery location in New Hampshire called the Live Free Refillery. Highlights on the Loop platform and the momentum of it in refillable packaging, as well as a chance to meet The Rounds, a zero waste grocery service. So I picked this because we talk about food a lot and we often talk about the footprint of food itself. In this case, when we're talking about grocery retail, we have to look at the packaging, reducing packaging, refilling, looking at recyclability, compostability. And so all of this has nature benefits, climate benefits, and waste benefits. So take a look at those. And the final one, in sustainable spirits, the look at pubs and pub goers. There's a new study out from the Heineken Smart Dispense folks around that saying that 1 in 5 pub goers are looking at green credentials of pubs, that they are using the green pub guide that they put out to find greener locations. And also an announcement of the Sustainable Pub of the Year going to Stroud Brewery, also in the UK. So congratulations to Stroud Brewery. We have to meet consumers where they are. They are at pubs and bars and restaurants. And so it's a great place to engage on sustainability. So stay tuned for more on that topic as well. Check out those articles, check out all the highlights. Got close, maybe a few seconds over this week. We'll do better next week. But again, if you like this content, and I know it's a sprint every week to get 5 and 5-ish, then please do like and subscribe. In the comments, I would also love, down below, I would love to hear your feedback on any of these 5 that I covered. Anything for those of you who were part of Climate Week, share those experiences, or highlights that I missed and what you wanted to bring forward. So with that, again, I'm Douglas Sabo at Green Living Doug across the socials. Look forward to hearing and speaking with you next week.